Welcome everybody to another edition of Real Recognizes Real. We are back at it again. I'm your host, Cottrell Simpson. As a lot of you know me, College Cottrell. And this week's edition of Real Recognizes Real, we're gonna give you one of those diamond in the roughs, but from a Power Five program. It almost seems like those two should never coincide, but I feel like this is the a prime candidate for that, and that's the running back out of Alabama, Jase McClellan. Now, you may be asking, why do I call him a diamond in the rough? He's a pretty popular name. Well, if you look at a lot of draft board consensus, this is a guy who's going to be selected on day 3. And I know this is a weaker running back class. And I say diamond in the rough because I think this is a guy that can give you some production and only cost you a 6th or 7th round pick. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it and talk a little bit more about McClellan. So I know this list is a little bit shorter than what they normally are with the pros and cons list. Again, keep in mind, this is a guy who I see being a 6th or 7th round prospect. So you got a little bit less to go off of here, but I'll try and break it down as best I can. Now, starting off with the pro side, the number one thing that I think Jase McClellan does, and I think he does at a very, very great level, is having patience and being able to follow his blockers. Now, that may sound like something, very simple and something that a lot of running backs should be able to do, especially at the SEC level. But I felt like Jase was always able to just have the vision and to see where the ball was ultimately supposed to end up. Of course, you have play designs that are supposed to go straight to the A gap. Maybe there was a defensive tackle that closed in pretty hard and, the A gap closed up. He was able to see that, follow his blockers, and basically take what the defense is giving him. And that leads us right into the second pro of him. This wasn't a guy who was going to go off for a crazy 50, 60-yard run, make crazy jukes and things like that, ad lib on the go. But he consistently took what the defense gave him. Now, of course, every run can't be successful, but for the most part, on the film that I saw, if runs weren't successful, it was typically because Alabama didn't block it well. Jase McClellan does a great job of, finding the open hole and ultimately taking what the defense gives you. And then the last thing, well, I already mentioned that, he's not a great runner in terms of, breaking away for big plays. He runs very hard and he runs with a purpose. If you watch his film, it's damn near impossible for anybody to tackle him one-on-one. Now, he's not the most elusive by any means, but just his ability to either run through people or just make it so where the opposing team has to gang tackle him, I think is a big plus for him. Now, just going over to the con side, I kind of hit on a couple of these already, just talking about the pros with him. But while he can be elusive, like I mentioned before, he does lack that big playability. Don't go out there and say, hey, we need a big time play. The offense is really struggling. We need you to go out there and break a 75-yard run where you make 3 guys miss and take it to the house. That's not the caliber back that he is. Also, he is a powerful runner. And with that said, he's not slow, but he does lack some top end speed that would allow him to run away from defenders. So I think a big part of that, you kind of see it on film. He gets into the open space a little bit, and it's almost like he runs out of steam. He's one of those guys that between the line of scrimmage and about 20 yards downfield, he runs at you. He runs at you hard, and he could potentially even run through you. But after that, he starts to lose a bit of steam, and you see him, come down to earth a little bit more. Now, the last con I have is a con you have with a lot of younger running backs is his ability in pass blocking. It feels like to me watching the film, he doesn't fully understand what his assignments are in pass blocking. Also, watching the film, it may have been a philosophy from Bama. It may not have been, but for me, consistently seeing it, I had to at least make note of it. I think he needs to learn how to do a better job of chipping on edge rushers. You see it time in and time in and time in again, where he is in blocking and he releases late and he throws just like a little bit of like shoulder into the edge defender, barely grazes him, doesn't knock him out of position or really affect it at all. It's kind of like, hey, if we go back and watch this film, you saw that I gave it a little bit of effort and then I just went on about my day. I like to see him get a little bit more physical, especially him being as powerful as he is. Put a little bit more body on that edge rusher and bump him off that track and make him a little bit more uncomfortable and make life easier for your tackle in that situation. But with all that said, I want to move on over to the player comparison. And for me, Jase McClellan reminds me a lot of Rashad Penny. Now I know it says DN. Obviously, these guys are running backs here. That is a mistake on my part here, but he reminds me a lot of Rashad Penny. Now, some of you at home may be thinking, well, Rashad Penny at San Diego State was a guy who broke off a lot of explosive plays. He made plays in the kick return game, things like that. Well, I want you to think of Rashad Penny more so at the NFL level, where I know he was a first round pick, but he was more so looked at as a spell back. A lot of his early career, he was backing up Chris Carson, things like that, kind of like your change of pace guy. And I see that with Jase McClellan. So think about Rashad Penny, less explosive plays. And like I said before, Rashad Penny was a first round pick. Jase is going to be a sixth or a seventh round pick. So obviously he lacks that big playability that Rashad has. But style of runners, I do see them very similar. And you see here with the comparisons here, you got Jase at 5'10 and 221. Rashad, pretty much identical numbers there. Now with Jase, there are some question marks here because he didn't compete at the combine and at his pro day, he was very limited in what he competed in. We know he's strong. I'd expect him to be around that 4.5 range, probably somewhere between 4.5 and a 4.55. So slightly slower than Rashad as well. But I actually would expect his vertical to be pretty much up there, right there with Rashad's, maybe even a little bit higher, because he does show a lot of explosion and a lot of power within his legs, on that film. But let's go ahead and get right into it. And we're going to start off with the Alabama versus Michigan college football playoff semifinal game. And I wanted to start with this one because I know it's a game that a lot of people have already seen, and I just want to do a little bit more of a deep dive into it. So we'll actually start off pretty early in this game. And you'll see Jase obviously lined up here at running back. And this is one of those times where I think Jase shows off his ability to be a one cut back and do exactly what he's supposed to do. So he gets the snap here, wide open hole there, obviously followed his blockers. Pretty easy to do there, not giving him credit there. But he's one-on-one here with this Michigan DB, and the DB was angled to meet him in the hole. He gives him just a little stutter, and you see him be able to get to the outside and make that play and ultimately score a touchdown. Now, it sounds crazy because I kept saying he's not a big play guy. Well, this was just an anomaly here. You don't see this happen too much in the Alabama season. But big time player made a big time play when Alabama needed it, especially early on in this game. So you'll see it here from the end zone view. Milroe looks at the defense, makes the shift. They check into a run play, and you see right away the hole is wide open. He knows exactly where he's supposed to go, and I'm sure in his mind he's thinking six all the way. He's like, I'm one-on-one with this DB. I'm just at the line of scrimmage, and I know if I put one move on him, this is a house call. And that's exactly what he does. So we'll let the play move on. Little cut, gets to the outside. Ultimately, 6 points, gets Alabama on the board first in this matchup. Now, we'll move on a little bit later in this game, and it was tough to watch with the pass pro. I know Michigan's D-line was one of the best, if not the best in the entire country, but I need him to have a better idea of what his assignment is in this on this play. So we'll go ahead and start this. Clearly, it's going to be a pass play. As a running back, you're typically going to be responsible for the A gap first, then the B gap, then the C gap. You want to go most dangerous player from the inside to the outside. I think this is a case of Jase not looking at what's going on and just not understanding that Michigan is bringing a blitzer right up the middle. So you'll see. Let's go ahead and get back to that play there, but you'll see that Michigan, they don't even really hide it either. They got 5 on the line, and they got a linebacker pretty close in the box here. So he should know that maybe some pressure's coming, but at least I'm going to have my head up to see where the pressure is potentially coming from. So, yes, they run a little stunt, but I mean, that's right up the middle. And you'll see it from the end zone view. It's like he takes this false step to go towards the outside, and then he's like, oh, shoot, I blew this assignment. So you see that he goes to the left, tries to help there. His eyes shouldn't even be there. He should be looking inside first and then looking to go help some people out. Now, and you'll see he's like, oh, ultimately, let him go. It's a sack. And that's my bad. Jase, that's on you there. Got to do a better job at understanding what your protections are in that moment. Now, let's move on a little bit further in this game. Now, I will say too, this will be a little bit of a shorter breakdown of Jase. One, because his usage wasn't too crazy. I think Bama really underutilized him. I understand their offense was a little bit different because they had Jalen Monroe run as much as he did, but I also feel like, again, with him being a 6th, 7th round pick, there's not much to go on. A lot of this stuff is very repetitive here, so I'll keep this one a little bit more brief for you guys. But with that said, we got some more stuff to go over here. So in the goal line here, I think Jase does a good job here of following his blockers. So you see it's all set up here. Alabama does a good job of washing that defensive line. One of the few times they actually did it pretty much all night long here. And again, Jase is in a situation where he knows if he can get outside here to the C gap, he's going to be one-on-one with this player right here. And so what he does right away, he sticks his foot in the ground, that one cut that we just talked about, and ultimately that player falls and he goes right into the end zone. That's just a great job of bending to the right spot. So you'll see he gets downhill first, makes that defender at least respect it enough, and then he sticks his foot, gets to the outside. Defender tries to make the tackle, gets on the ground. No shot at really making a play there. That's a good run by you, Jase McClellan. Now let's move on. The next series for Bama here, we're going to just look at a play where Jase is showing off the power. So back it up just a little bit more here, just see if there's any like pre-snap motion or anything like that. So again, Michigan's in the front that they've been in pretty much the entire game, where they got 5 on the line of scrimmage here, trying to confuse that Bama offensive line. So Jase gets it on the handoff here. You'll see free rusher right up the middle there. Jase says, hey, even if the play was supposed to go here, I'm not going to allow you to just make that easy play on me. Bounces to the outside a little bit, gives the defender the one cut. And this is what I'm talking about, him being tough to take down. A lot of players are down right at that first down marker. Jase is a guy who's gonna run hard and get you those extra just gritty yards. And I love seeing that from a player like that. I think this can be a great change of pace kind of guy. And that's why I ultimately compared him to Rashad Penny. So we'll look at it again here from the end zone view. He gets the handoff right away, sticks his foot in the ground, knows I have to bend this and get out to the C gap because Michigan's getting penetration right away. So we see him get out there, make another cut on the DB there, and just hard to bring down with one player. You see Michigan ultimately gang tackles him there. I think that just shows you the kind of player that he is. Now we'll go ahead and move on to one of the last, well, actually the last play that we'll cover in this game. And it's nothing spectacular here, but I just wanted to put on film here that Jase, while he is a powerful runner, he's not going to kill you in the pass game, but he can catch. So I just wanted to show you guys, what his hands look like. Again, absolutely nothing crazy here. You see it, flat route, turns upfield, very basic, but he has the ability to do it even for one of those, bigger, powerful backs. So you'll see it here. End zone, goes flat route right away. Not afraid of the hit there, takes it. He's good to go. But that is it for Michigan. The next game that we actually have up, we're going to go to the Iron Bowl. Again, another game that I'm sure a lot of you guys tuned into. This is the game where, the miracle on fourth down happened and Jalen Milroe found Isaiah Bond in the back of the end zone. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about what Jase McClellan was doing leading up to that moment. So we will go ahead and get it started. Literally first play from scrimmage for Bama. He's deciding to show out, and he's going to show you that power right away. So you see Jase gets a snap here. Again, this is pretty good from Auburn. Nothing spectacular here. Small hole, but Jase is going to make sure he found a way to get through that. And then you see the power, making sure he's getting those extra 1 or 2 yards and just ultimately running hard. So you'll see it better from the end zone view here. You see in the NFL, this gap is huge, but you got some people that aren't hitting this gap at the right spot, or they're getting tangled up by some feet in here, things like that. Again, I think Jase does a good job here of following the blockers and then just getting a couple extra yards that he ultimately fought for. Now let's go ahead and move on to the 220 mark in this game here. And this is going to be an example of Jase doing one of the cuts to really show off his skills here. So you see Moreau puts Bond in motion, gives him the handoff here. Got the one cut right there. Again, nothing spectacular here, nothing to write home about. But again, Jase is following those blockers, getting through there. This looks like a mess right here. Jase is getting through there, sticking his foot in the ground, and taking exactly what the defense can give him. Great job there. Now we'll move on just a little bit, couple plays later here. And this is going to be an example of Jase showing off that power here. So they're in the pistol. He gets the snap. One missed tackle there. Two missed tackles there. Ultimately forced him out of bounds there. So we'll see it here from the end zone view. Looks like a counter play. They ran Jase a lot in different counter formations. I noticed throughout the season, and I do think that's probably his best bet. Just getting some offensive linemen out there in front of him. But again, just showing off the power. I know he didn't score there or anything like that, but I think that's a good display of re-emphasizing the point that not one tackler is going to take him to the ground, at least not easily, or not at the line of scrimmage or something like that. Now we're going to move on to the last play from this Auburn game. In this game, you had a lot of Jalen Milroe. You had a lot more passes and things like that. So what I think Jase, without beating a dead horse here, I think he just lacked a lot of opportunity, not just this game, but the entire season. Again, this is going to be another example of Jase showing off the pure power that he has in those legs. So you see him getting out of shotgun. You see they pull the tight end here. Again, I think he works best with somebody pulling in front of him, but gets there, sticks one foot in the ground, makes the defender miss with a broken tackle. Puller, one man by himself, no chance. Extra 3-4 yards there. Again, nothing to write home about, but I am big on the effort plays. And I think that's going to be able to translate for him to that next level. And if you're a team that has a starting caliber running back right now, but you don't have a backup, if you can get a guy like this in the 6th or 7th round to be your third down back, or just to be a guy to, run with anger and try to wear down a defense, I think Jase McClellan can be your guy. And I think his best game of the entire season is going to be the one that we're about to look at next, and that's the game against Arkansas. So let me go ahead and get that game pulled up here for you guys, and we'll go ahead, break that down, and then get you guys on out of here. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning in with me. We only got a couple more of these, and I really hope you guys have enjoyed the series so far. But let's go ahead, get it started here, and we'll go pretty early in this game. And first play here, it's going to be the theme of the entire Jase McClellan highlight. He's running with power and he's running with a purpose. So you will see Bama again. I know you see this guard pulling on over here. You want those pullers in front of Jase when he's coming downhill. So you see, gets through there, one tackle there. Yeah. Yeah, you might take me down by yourself. This is the one exception, I guess, to the rule where I said, it takes more than one guy to bring him down. But I'm gonna drag you with me 5 yards before you actually get me to the ground. Love that. You're not gonna be able to just arm tackle this guy. You're gonna have to bring your lunch pail if you want to get this guy to the ground by yourself. Or he's just gonna drag you with you and take you for a ride as well. Let's go on to 423. He's going to show off the one cut ability here. So you see Arkansas is pretty much stacking this box here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys really in the box, and a 10th guy right outside the box. Bama's only in one receiver. They pretty much know what's coming here, and they're saying, hey, stop him. So they get in single back. They give him the ball. Everybody's expecting run. Flies off the edge here. Makes him miss pretty much right away. Gets through there. And again, I know that's only a 3-yard gain, but look at his ability to just stick his foot right away. So you'll see he's going here. He's bending right towards the edge, and then pow, stick his foot, makes the guy miss. And it's a big difference going from a no gain to gaining 3 yards on a play. And I love that. I absolutely love that. Now let's move on here. We got to show off the power again because it's not a Jason McClellan highlight without showing off that power. So you see it from the shotgun here. They give the ball off, makes one defender bounce off of him, and carries the rest of the guys for another 3 or 4 yards. So you see it following his blockers, hole's pretty big there, so won't give you too much credit, Jase. But after you get through there, you got a linebacker that's trying to pretty much hit stick you. You basically eat that, and it takes, let's see, you got one guy on the bottom there, second guy here, third guy here. Basically takes 3 guys to, get you to the ground here. I love seeing you run with a purpose like that. And we're just gonna keep it rolling here. The very next play, Jase gets the ball again, does a good job of just following his blockers and taking what the defense gives you. He stayed upright. His offensive lineman ultimately came and gave him a little bit more of a boost to get a couple more yards. But I mean, look at the blocking here. You see, the hole is opened up there for him. And, I know some inexperienced backs, they may even bounce outside here because they want the big play. Not Jase. Jase is going to take exactly what you give him, go through that gap, stick little one foot in there, and, fight for those extra yards. Now we're going to go down to the 10:47 mark, and this is going to be the last play of this game, and we'll wrap up. We'll wrap up the Jase McClellan film session here. So you see they are in pistol. They pretty typical box here. They give them the toss play, and again, you see crack toss. They got people out there in front of him. You see a lineman getting on his horse, and he's like, hey, I'm going to do a good job of following you, and you're going to lead me to the promised land. So he cuts it up inside. And, again, I know not a big play, but he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do here. This gets muddied here. He says, hey, I'm going to stick my foot. I'm going to get through here and ultimately take what I can. Love that from him. Very fundamentally sound, and I think he's going to make a team a lot better just because he's going to do exactly what they ask of him, and he's going to run hard, and he's ultimately going to get teams some of those tough yards that they're looking for, and he's not going to cost you much. 6th, 7th round pick, and I think if that's the case and he ends up being a guy that can make your roster and be your backup running back, you are in a very good spot. Jase, love your film. I think you're going to have a successful NFL career. And, I think a team's going to find a diamond in the rough. But that is it for this week's edition of Real Recognizes Real. Like I said before, we only got a couple more in these series. So next week, we're going to go over Cooper DeJean from Iowa. And then the one that you all have been waiting for, the last film session is going to be over. Caleb Williams, quarterback of USC, the presumed number one overall pick, the new franchise quarterback for the Chicago Bears. I can't wait to break that one down and tell you guys why I think he's a superstar and why I think he has superstar written all over it. And I hope I can put to bed all of this just propaganda that people are trying to put out there because they don't like the guy. But first things first, we got to take care of Cooper next week. We're going to give him the proper credit that is due, and then we're going to go take care of Caleb. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in and sticking with me, and I will see you guys again next week.